How's it going, guys? We have a great video for you today. We have fantasy football free agent pickups, advice on who to drop from your team, analysis of poker hands, and a lot more. And here are the quarterbacks I think you should be adding to your roster in week 4. First off, I like Geno Smith of the Seattle Seahawks. Smith is only owned in 42% of Yahoo leagues, and he is averaging over 17 points per game over the first 3 weeks. Next, I like Sam Darnold. Sam is playing extremely well in Minnesota, where he is taking advantage of his connection with football's best wideout, Justin Jefferson. Darnold threw 4 passing touchdowns last week, and as long as Jefferson stays healthy, he has top 10 fantasy quarterback potential. Lastly, I really liked what I saw out of Andy Dalton in week 3. Dalton showcased his skills and veteran savvy against the Raiders in week 3, where he threw for over 300 yards and for 3 passing touchdowns in the Panthers' first win of the season. I like him to stay hot in week 4 against the Cincinnati Bengals defense that cannot stop opposing QBs.
How's it going, everyone? This week, I'm doing the wide receivers to add off the waiver wire. First, we have Jawan Jennings, San Francisco 49ers. He went off. All right, he had a monster game, and they have a soft schedule the next few weeks, and there's several key players out for the 49ers. Next, we have Quinn Johnson, LA Chargers. He looks to be the number one at the Chargers, and with Herbert, that's a very coveted position, and he reminds me a lot of Brandon Marshall and his physicality. Next, we have Darnell Mooney, Atlanta Falcons. He has 15 targets the last 2 games and seems to have a really good connection with Cousins. Finally, Wandale Robinson, New York Giants. I get it, it's the Giants, but he's had 24 targets through 3 games, and he's the second best catching option on a very surprising, okay Giants offense. So these are a few wide receivers to add off the waiver wire.
These are some running backs you should add off the waiver wire this week. Starting off, I have Chuba Hubbard. He's still only rostered in 52% of leagues, and he went absolutely off this week, gaining 169 total yards and scoring 2 touchdowns. The Panthers' offense looked much better under Andy Dalton, which means Hubbard should be getting a lot of opportunities in the coming weeks. He should be rostered in all formats, and you can start him as a running back too. Next, I have Rico Dowdle. He seems to be emerging as the lead back in Dallas. This week, he carried the ball 8 times as Zeke's 3. Dallas is going to have a good offense, and you definitely want the lead back in this backfield on your roster. He's only rostered in 42% of leagues, and I think he should be stashed as a depth and bye week filler with greater potential upside later in the season. Finally, I have Bucky Irving. This week he ran for 70 yards on only 9 carries. He also added 3 receptions in the game. He's been the more efficient back in Tampa Bay this season, and while I don't expect him to take the starting role yet, I do think he could start to see an increased workload if he keeps putting up good performances like this one. He's only rostered in 35% of leagues, so I consider stashing him in deeper leagues.
All right, your tight end waiver wire pickups. We're starting off with Tyler Conklin of the Jets. The Jets offense, they're finally starting to click, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron Rodgers, he likes a good tight end. So keep an eye on Conklin. The guy had 5 catches for 93 yards last week. The targets might not be consistent, but his snap count is. He's playing over 90% of snaps. The more snaps you're in, the more opportunities you're going to have. We're also looking Cole Kmet of the Bears. He's a decent stream option going forwards. He had 11 targets, 97 yards, and a touchdown. I know weeks 1 and 2, he only had 31 yards total, so he's hit or miss, but keep an eye on him. Also, if you're really hurting, Hockenson will be coming back soon for the Vikings, and they are rolling, so keep an eye on him. Stash him on your bench just in case.
If you're playing redraft fantasy football, you have to start thinking about cutting Trevor Lawrence from your roster. The Jaguars have struggled mightily in their first 3 games, and they did not even look competitive in their blowout loss to the Bills in week 3. The road ahead looks tough for the Jags as they face Houston, Indianapolis, and the Bears in their next 3 matchups. Lawrence is simply unplayable right now. And if your team is not in need of a backup quarterback, then I think it's safe to drop Matthew Stafford. His top 2 offensive weapons, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua, are both down with injury for extended periods of time. And we saw last week that the Rams are going to emphasize the running game to grind out games in their absence.
Okay, a few wide receivers to consider dropping. I'm going to start off with the spiciest one first. Michael Pittman, Indianapolis Colts. Yes, he's their number one wide receiver, and they just signed a contract, but him and Richardson just do not seem to be on the same page, and he's only averaging 6 targets. Plus, does someone in a shallow bench or If you're looking at trade, I think he has some value on trade, but if not, drop him. Next, Xavier Worthy, Kansas City Chiefs. He just does not get enough targets and touches, averages about 3. Yes, he'll have his huge boom games, but you'll never know when to start him. On to Rashard Bateman of the Baltimore Ravens. He's averaging about 4 targets a game, and with them being such a run heavy offense, I would look to drop him, and there's so many better options on the waiver wire for wide receiver.
This week, I would consider dropping Gus Edwards. He has a difficult path to fantasy relevance this season as J.K. Dobbins looks like the much better back. Edwards' volume has dropped significantly, especially in week 3 where he saw only 3 carries. He's only averaging 2.9 yards per carry this season. He's going to have to show more if he wants to continue getting the limited playing time that he's getting in the Chargers backfield. I also think it's time to consider dropping Zamir White. He's still 83% rostered in Yahoo leagues, but he's averaging less than 5 fantasy points per game in PPR formats through 3 weeks. That's really hard to justify rostering, and while we try to preach patience, this offense in Las Vegas just doesn't really look like it's going to be that good, which makes the job tough on a runner who relies on volume because game script is always working against them. I wouldn't be mad at you if you dropped Zamir White this week.
All right, tight ends that we're kicking to the curb. I only got one for you guys this week, but it's Chig Okonkwo of the Tennessee Titans. And man, we had high hopes for you, but it's time to say bye. You get 2 to 3 targets a game. You've had 7 targets through 3 games. Yeah, you've caught them all, but outside of that, you got 46 yards on 7 targets. We're really not all that excited about you. Outside of your week 1 touchdown, you've done absolutely nothing, and you're only in for a little less than 50% of snaps. Also, we are getting rid of Travis Kelce. No, I'm just kidding. We're not getting rid of Travis Kelce, but man, has he been lackluster along with Mark Andrews. Keep those guys, obviously, but it is not looking good at the moment. Hopefully they can turn it around.
Excuse me, sir. Would you like another hot take?
Yeah, definitely. Keep them coming.
Okay, my hot take of the week is Anthony Richardson unfortunately will not cut in the NFL. His big knock coming out of college was his passing ability, and he's been sub 50%. He's kind of like a more athletic Tim Tebow. We've had lots of guys that can run and not throw the ball. He just doesn't have the touch. All right. That's what makes guys like Jaden Daniels right now so special. I loved RG3 that one magical rookie season, and of course Lamar Jackson. But not everyone can be those guys. And Richardson, I think it's just going to be another long list of athlete that will unfortunately not cut it in the NFL.
Good hot takes, Josh. I'm coming from the WNBA this week, and this is more to pay homage to Ajay Wilson, who was named WNBA MVP for the 3rd time in her career, having previously won it in 2020 and 2022. She was the unanimous decision this year, gaining 67 first-place votes out of 67. She becomes the 4th player to win it 3 times, joining Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, and Lauren Jackson. So she could become the first player to win it 4, 5, 6 times. I don't know about 5 or 6, but I do see her at least winning a 4th time, and then we'll talk about 5 and 6 once she wins that. She has been phenomenal in her career. She's a 2-time WNBA champion with the Las Vegas Aces. They won the last 2 years. They're going for a 3-peat this year. They start tonight against Seattle, first round of the WNBA playoffs. She is a finals MVP. She is a 2-time WNBA all-defensive team and a 4-time all-WNBA team player.
My hot take for the week is that Colorado will finish the season inside the top 25. Their prayers were answered this week after they converted a last-second Hail Mary to force overtime and were able to pull out the W from there over Baylor. This is an 8 or 9 win team that should continue its ascension in Deion Sanders' 2nd year as head coach. They have a lot of talent on the roster, and they will certainly remain must-watch TV for the remainder of the season.
I'm a believer in the Panthers' offense with Andy Dalton at the helm. Dalton makes this team an above-average passing offense and he should help give fantasy relevance to several of the Panthers' offensive players, including Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, and Chuba Hubbard. I think all of these guys will add value to your team as above average flex options in deeper leagues.
This is a poker hand I played at Shuffle 512 in Austin, Texas. In this hand, we were playing 1-2. Action folded to me in the cutoff, and I raised to $15 with ace 7 of diamonds. The small blind and straddle both made the call. The flop came ace jack deuce rainbow, so we flopped top pair. Action checked to me, and I chose to bet small here for $20. Try to keep both players in with the wide range, and they both do end up making the call. The turn comes the 8 of clubs, bringing in a flush draw. It checks to me again, and I don't have the best ace here. So I could definitely check here, but I'd choose to go for the bet here because I think neither player should have that strong of a hand when they both just call on the flop. So I bet for 60 and both players make the fold and we win the pot. This is another hand I played at Shuffle 512. In this hand we were playing 1-2 and action folded to the cutoff who made it $12. I call on the button with 8-6 of spades and both the blinds fold. The turn comes Queen Jack 7 rainbow with the Queen of spades. He now continues for 15, and here with the backdoor straight and flush draw, I choose to float with thoughts of trying to bluff later in the hand if he checks to me. The turn comes the 7 of spades, which is a pretty good card for me as it gives me a flush draw, and it's more likely that I'll have a 7 in my range. So when my opponent continues here for 40, I consider bluffing all in to represent trips, which is what I think I should do here, but I choose to call instead since I'm getting a solid price and could get paid if I get there, as people don't like to put you on the backdoor flush. The river bricks out, and it's the jack of clubs, and now he checks. And I think I make another mistake here because I choose to go all in for 155. But I think I should just check back here and let him win the pot because when he goes bet, and then checks the river, he most likely has a hand like top pair, and he's doing that to call. I don't have enough to push him off of a hand like that. But I do go all in this time, and he does make the call with ace-queen, and we lose the pot.
Okay, we are playing 1-2 at Windstar, and we look down at pocket queens under the gun. A raise to $16, and we get 4 callers, which we don't like. Luckily, the small blind, who had been aggressive, raises to 100. I think they're trying to squeeze, so I go all in for $240. The rest of them fold out, but the small blind makes a snap call, so I'm not loving it. The flop. The jack of diamonds, the 8 of diamonds, and the 7 of clubs. They definitely could have a set of jacks now. The turn is the 7 of diamonds, and the river is the 10 of hearts. We show our queens, and we win. They had ace king with the king of diamonds, so luckily that last diamond didn't come, and we win a decent pot. We are still playing 1-2 at Windstar, and the under gun +1 raises to $10. 4 people call, and I look down at black 8s, and I decide to flat from the big blind, so let's go to the flop. The flop is the queen of hearts, the 7 of diamonds, the 6 of hearts. I check. Now the ungun +1 bets 40. 2 people call, and I decide to float and make the call as well. The turn is a 5 of spades, which is a great card. I check, and now our ungun +1 goes all in for 92. The low jack and I both call. The river is the 8 of diamonds. I now go all in. The low jack folds. I show my set. The ungun +1 had black pocket kings, and low jack said that they folded a flush draw. So we win a nice pot, and we're very, very happy that the heart did not come on the river.
Soccer hooligans.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another edition of the Adam Minutes, jumping right into a Wrexham watch. Last time we checked in on Wrexham, they were top of the league, hadn't lost yet. Big game coming up against Birmingham City, who, by the way, is minority owned by the GOAT of the NFL, Tom Brady. How did that game go? Well, it started off great. They were up 1-0. Wrexham was up 1-0, and then they shipped 3 goals to Birmingham. Birmingham City ended up winning that one 3-1. But they got back on track this past weekend with a 2-1 win over Crawley Town. So they're right now sitting in first place. They're tied on points with Birmingham, but thanks to goal differential, they are in first place. However, Birmingham does have a game in hand. A lot of season to go. So we're not calling it here, but if you do remember my hot take from last week, I did say that I do not see Wrexham gaining promotion for a third successive season. But so far, they are proving me wrong. But like I said, a lot of games to go. We also had this weekend Arsenal versus City, the cream of the crop in the Premier League. Yeah, I'm sorry, Josh. The cream of the crop of the Premier League is Arsenal and Manchester City. Liverpool, I got them, they're close, but they're not there. Anyways, the game started off great for City. Haaland got an early goal in the 9th minute, and it looked like this was just going to be another one of those, oh great, Man City wins again. However, Arsenal scored twice before the half with Calafiori in the 22nd minute and Magalhaes in the 45th minute. However, also before halftime, Arsenal got a red card. Trossard got his second yellow card, which is a red card, which is a sending off, which means you play the rest of the game a player down. So Arsenal with 10 men, they were hanging on for dear life until John Stones scored a goal in the 98th minute to tie that one 2-2. This one ends all even, as it should. The cream of the crop tying this one. There's a big loss for Manchester City in this game as Rodri went out injured in the 20th minute, and it does not look good. It's looking like an ACL injury. He's going to be out the rest of the season. This is possibly the best player in the Premier League. He's definitely the best defensive midfielder in the world, and this is a huge blow for any kind of trophies that City are trying to win this year. We hope you guys have a good week. We'll see you next time.
If you've made it this far in your fantasy baseball season, then congratulations. Here are some suggestions for guys to add to your bench to help you make your championship push. First off, I like adding Leotis Taveras of the Texas Rangers to your roster. Taveras has been a top 80 player in fantasy over the last 2 weeks, and he will add steals and average to your roster. I also like adding Luis Angel Acuna to your roster as well. Acuna is the younger brother of Ronald, and he has looked great in his first big league call-up. He's batting near 400 and has speed on the base paths and power at the dish. He's an exciting young player who could put your team over the top.
Okay, thank you so much for watching to the end. If you haven't yet, please take a moment, hit that like, comment, subscribe. And if you do not know yet, on Saturdays we are dropping our start sits for the week. So check that out to make sure that you're watching, seeing the players you should be starting and sitting for fantasy football. And at 11 a.m. Central Time, we go live to kind of give you the best updates of what's going on for fantasy football. So check that out. We have our store. Go there, get some DGL merch, and have a great week.